Back in October of 2023, it was quite a while since the last mainline Mario game. Sure, we've had spin-offs and re-releases and stupid-ass Mario Run to hold us over along the way, but when it came to mainline games, we're looking at 6 years since, with the latest entry being Super Mario Odyssey in 2017. And that was just the last 3D game. When we look at the latest entry on the 2D side of things, again, aside from ports and re-releases and shitty mobile games, I'm sorry, those are just the rules when talking about stupid dumb mobile games that are released in 2016. It's been 10 years since, with the latest entry being New Super Mario Bros. U on the Wii U in November 2012, and New Super Luigi U in 2013. And you gotta keep in mind that around this time, the modern 2D Mario games sorta lost a fair amount of their magic for a lot of people. What felt like an incredible, joyous time playing the Mario games of the then 38-year-long past ended up feeling like a generic, unmemorable, albeit polished and still relatively fun experience that pales in comparison to other 2D platformers. I never thought I'd see the day where Nintendo is bested by Nintendo. I mean, yeah, sure, I get why the new Super games gets a lot of flack, and at one point, I did feel that the franchise was milked a bit too hard after the success of the DS and Wii titles. But I genuinely like these games. New Super on Wii was such a fun experience for me. And it may just be because it was the multiplayer game for me and my family to play together back when I was a kid, but even when I go back and play it now, it's nothing special, but I still feel a sense of magic that I got from playing it when I was playing the older 2D games. New Super on Wii U and 3DS though, yeah, not so much. And that's probably because I just don't feel that same sense of connection as I did with the Wii entry because I didn't grow up playing these games as much. But man, while I've had my fun with both of these games, I really didn't get into them much at all. Now, none of which are bad games by any means, but when I have to pick out what my favorite entry in the New Super series is, I've gotta go with Wii. I mean, maybe if I was more acquainted with U and 2 in like, say, 2009, 2010, when I was in the process of creating all these memories, then sure, I'd probably share a similar sentiment. Or even if I made more memories playing them with others, because most of the memories that I had with them were either playing it alone and depressed, or when I was playing it with friends and family. However, the nostalgia was nowhere near as fond. Long story short, Wii is still my favorite. However, after New Super on Wii U and 3DS released in 2012, and even the more challenging Luigi U in 2013, 2D Mario went on a bit of a hiatus, which many could probably argue was for the best to hopefully give 2D Mario some time to find its footing again. But I don't think we were prepared for just how long the break for 2D Mario was actually gonna be.
It's been 10 years already?
I mean, yeah, we did get the 2 Super Mario Maker games on Wii U and Nintendo Switch, which honestly were the closest we've ever gotten to 2D Mario games that were far more interesting to play, as you wouldn't know what to expect from fan-made levels online, even in the New Super Mario Bros. U playstyle. But other than those, and the New Super Mario Bros. U and New Super Luigi U port on the Nintendo Switch in January 2019, called New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, nothing. Although, while things slowed down for Mario's 2D outings, we would only have to wait 4 more years to get a brand new 2D Mario game worth giving a damn about that wasn't just a level maker, or a port, or a piss-poor 2016 mobile game.
I'm really exaggerating my hatred for Mario Run too much in this video, aren't I?
But an original 2D Mario game finally going back to its classic roots that was, well, interesting and unique, where all the new Super games were pretty much the same thing every time. Enter Super Mario Bros. Wonder. After what felt like forever of not getting a new mainline entry, a 2D entry no less, things were finally looking up when the game got revealed in a June 2023 Nintendo Direct. And while we're on the topic of 2023, man, what a great comeback story for Mario fans this was. A theatrical movie release, and even a whole slew of new games and expansions for pre-existing games based entirely around former Jumpman. Some of which were even revealed to be released in 2024, although some of those were revealed a few months later in the September 2023 Nintendo Direct. And sure, that would mean we'd have to wait longer than I would have liked to for these releases, but hey, look at that! Thousand Year Door remake. Now you have to be a Mario fan. But arguably the biggest announcement of all was Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Now don't get me wrong, I was excited to play Trombone Champ as much as the next video game talking person on the internet who is deprived of any new mainline Mario games for the past 6 years would be, but a new 2D Mario game with the new art style and uniqueness that 2D Mario hasn't had in over 15 years, now you're speaking my language, Nintendo.
And just to be clear, this is my language.
And that's what Super Mario Bros. Wonder was revealed to be. It finally felt like the Mario team took into consideration the criticism that they got with the new Super games, and finally did a complete 180 with everything that was shown in this trailer. And thankfully, June wasn't the only time we were going to get to see the game before its official release. We got a roughly 15-minute Nintendo Direct 2 months later in August, dedicated entirely to showing us more of what the game has to offer. and it had quite a bit to show, including how online multiplayer was going to be handled, the new power-ups, even the new badge system, which I was definitely a bit skeptical about. But still, man, this trailer was amazing, and I knew that no matter what, this was going to be an excellent game.
So let's whine about it.
The name Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Solid name, the addition of the word wonder fits well with the game's central theme, but don't tell me that calling it Super Mario Bros. Wonder compared to Super Mario Wonder sounds better. It's not bad. I think having the word bros in the title does help to make it clear that this is a 2D Mario game first and foremost, and it's definitely nice to see that the iconic title hasn't been abandoned since the demise of New Super, but I don't know, calling it Super Mario Wonder just rolls off the tongue better. And while we're at it, let's analyze this logo. This is a nice logo. The word Super Mario Bros. Is the same style of font as the one used in the new Super series, which is the same style of font as the original Super Mario Bros. And I've always really liked it. I mean, hell, I think this font was probably the most iconic thing from the new Super series as a whole. And it is a nice font choice overall. And the word wonder being all swirly definitely fits in regards to what wonder actually is in the game. But am I the only one who feels it looks a little fan-made? But regardless, nice logo, nice title, still would have preferred if it was called Super Mario Wonder instead, but whatever, I was still excited for the game's announcement all the same. And during that time, there were various interviews with the game's developers who went over all sorts of interesting stuff with the game, including the fact that they weren't given a deadline for it.
And they said it couldn't be done.
But to me, the biggest surprise was finding out that series voice actor Charles Martinet, who's been voicing Mario, Luigi, Wario, and Waluigi, will be stepping down as the voice of the characters after 30 plus years. Many people noted in the reveal trailer back in June that Mario's voice sounded slightly off upon saying certain lines. And I had no idea what the hell they were even talking about because I did not notice a change whatsoever. But apparently, everyone assuming that that wasn't him who was voicing Mario in the game ended up being correct, as Nintendo themselves announced in August that Charles Martinet will be stepping down as the voice of Mario and pursuing a new role as the Mario ambassador. All things considered, it was pretty disappointing to hear that he was stepping down, as he basically played the character in my and millions of childhoods all over. So for him to step down before the release of the new entry definitely also made it a sad time to be a Mario fan as well. However, many people were speculating who is going to be voicing Mario and Luigi in the upcoming game. Hell, I even wanted to know. But sadly, we had to wait a bit closer to release to really find out. A week before launch to be exact, where it was revealed that an individual named Kevin Afghani is voicing both Mario and Luigi in the game, as well as Wario in the then upcoming WarioWare Move It game. A big deal, no doubt. Bringing a newcomer on to voice gaming's most iconic character definitely left the actor with big shoes to fill going in. Now, I'm not too familiar with him or any of his past work, but from what I've heard from the game's trailers, he sounds almost identical to Charles in many cases. Now, in some areas, the change is 100% noticeable, but in others, wow, he sounds almost exactly the same. But all things considered, the fact that we were getting a brand new 2D Mario game in a week's time was very exciting, and I for one was incredibly excited to give it a try. And come October 20th, 2023, where the game was in my possession and played on a consistent basis.
And after completing the game 100% in its entirety, plus completing it a second time in multiplayer, I thought it'd be fun to annoy everybody and form an opinion of what I thought of the game. I think I'm reaching the right marker for this. So, let's get into today's video where I'm going to review the 2023 release of Super Mario Bros. Wonder in its entirety on the Nintendo Switch 1.
So starting off with the game's title screen, it's pretty okay. No fun little animations on the main menu, just a static and expanded image of the one on the box art. We're starting off great here. It doesn't stick out as a flaw or anything, it's just that after almost every other mainline Mario game we got in recent memory had a bit more going on the title screen, it just feels slightly awkward to break the consistency with this game. But I will say though, this image definitely makes for good box art for the game, as it does a considerable job representing what the game is all about. Wonder, elephants, movement. Again, it's not an issue or anything. I actually can appreciate this for getting straight to the point, and the music at the very least being quite good. I'm just puzzled as for why other games had more going on and this didn't. And then we could pick our characters, and wow. Super Mario Bros. Wonder offers the most playable characters for any 2D Mario game yet, and the kind of character you want to play as will not be restricted to whether you're player 1 or not, like in the new Super games. You could be player 1 and play as Blue Toad. It's a dream only Super Mario Bros. Wonder can fulfill. You could also play as Princess Peach or Daisy, as well as Toadette, but for players who want a sort of easy mode, there's different color variants for Yoshi and Nabbit who don't take damage from enemies and can't use power-ups. And prior to this game, Yoshi was nothing more than a rideable power-up that you couldn't take outside the level with you. So it's nice how he's here as an actual playable character, and being part of an easy mode alongside Nabbit is fine. I mean, I'm all for Nintendo making their games more accessible for younger demographics or individuals who aren't as advanced as others, but why not give every character this? There may be some individuals who want the easy mode, but may not want to play as Nabbit or the Yoshis because that gives them an unfair advantage over the other non-easy mode characters, because they may still want to play as Luigi, for example. That way they could still get access to the power-ups. Why not just have easy mode as a menu option instead of locking it behind specific characters? But regardless, does that mean the game is bad?
Define bad.
Now, jumping into the story, we're treated to the Flower Kingdom, which is a neighbor to the awfully familiar Mushroom Kingdom.
Doesn't ring a bell.
They were invited here by Talking Caterpillar Prince Florian to feast their eyes on the mysterious Wonder Flower. Bro, why the hell are you leaving it out unguarded? And just like that, things go awry when our old buddy pal amigo friend Bowser shows up, comes in contact with the Wonder Flower, and merges with Prince Florian's castle, wreaking havoc across the kingdom as a flying castle. That's a up way to rule the world. Once the gang sees what Bowser is doing, you and Prince Florian in tow set off on a quest to defeat Bowser and save the Flower Kingdom, which just equates to jumping into different levels on the world map. And what I like about the world map this time around is that for some worlds, while they may be more of a linear path like for World 3 for instance, the rest of the world allows you to freely explore different parts of it and basically allows you to choose whichever level you want to play in any order you'd like. And I like the sense of freedom here, mainly because when you find a course too difficult, you can just skip over it and play a different stage instead that may match your skill level a bit more. But again, not all the world maps are like this, but when it's here, yeah, it's pretty cool. But now, on to the first level.
Onward and upward.
Just to be safe, I have like 2 other copies left.
So the level design this time around is pretty good. I like the mix of more traditional levels like this one right here, and levels that have unique gimmicks exclusive to it. It's way cooler than the new Super games, where I barely remember more than a fourth of what those games' levels even have to offer. And they're all pretty unique theming-wise, some of which may be the bright and colorful grassy plains that we've all come to expect from the other 2D entries' earlier portions, but you also got jungles, caverns, deserts, snowy plains, skies, castles, and other themes beyond this too. And the themes of the levels are mostly determined by what the world's theme is, but sometimes it breaks itself away from the world's theme, which means I can appreciate the amount of variety a lot more. To an extent. Because if it goes all the way with its theme for a specific world, it would make all the sense if most of them are themed around that setting. Like, let's say one world is a desert theme, then it would make all the sense in the world if a majority of the levels offered here were desert themed and would allow for more creativity to work based on what you can actually do with that kind of theme. But if the world is desert themed and most of the courses are different theming wise, then really, what's the point? And to reiterate, that's not Super Mario Bros. Wonder in many areas. All the themes are focused and consistent, and I think we got a ton of really fun levels out of them as a result. Just every once in a while, it does break itself away from its central theme. It doesn't ruin anything as far as I'm concerned, just wanted to point it out. And occasionally, you'll also have to do a few airship stages every few worlds that are also well designed as well. And speaking on behalf of the level design itself, it's kind of in a weird middle ground for me. In some areas, it has the fun, energetic bounciness that the levels offered in the new Super games have, but at the same time, they're designed in a way that's more akin to Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo. And when I say that the levels share a small portion of similarities to the new Super levels, I don't mean that in a bad way. The thing with New Super was that all the level designs were good and fun, it's just that they were incredibly forgettable with barely anything making them unique at all. And that could also be a result of how underwhelming the art style was too. But with Wonder being way more interesting to look at, it makes these levels far more interesting to me visually, and even the more traditional basic levels as well. And the reason why I'm comparing the level design to World as well is because of how it feels like the developers carried many traits that made the level design in that game so good and brought it over to Super Mario Bros. Wonder. It's balanced out to a point where it has both the best parts of the new Super levels and the levels offered in Super Mario World, which I really do commend. There's even quite a few secret exits to find like in that game too. So when you really stop and think about all the elements that it shares with that old Super Nintendo game, this is basically a direct sequel 30 plus years in the making. And hey, considering how Super Mario World is my favorite game of all time, that's not a bad thing at all. So in terms of level design, it is quite good. It's also not too challenging as well, an aspect that many would probably find making it difficult to appreciate as much. And I mean, yeah, I get why people were disappointed with the game's lack of difficulty, and I do agree that it should have been a bit more challenging to keep both veterans of the series happy, as well as offer enough of a challenge for newcomers as well, but sadly, the game doesn't do that too much. It's more on the easy side except for the post-game, which I'll get to that later. And while I would have liked for the difficulty to be a bit higher as the base worlds progressed, at least with the game being a bit lighter on the challenge ensured that I was always going to be enjoying myself frustration-free, so that's a positive. And plus, I did lose several times in certain levels before getting to the final boss, so it does offer somewhat of a challenge. Now, the major new addition to the gameplay is something I'm actually a big fan of, and is the game's central hook being the Wonder Flower. Collect this and the world around you will change in some capacity. Or you'll change in some capacity, who knows? You could be riding a stampede of bulls, you could be in the middle of piranha plants singing a surprisingly catchy song, or you could even end up falling through the sky. It's a really cool mechanic. But as for changes to yourself, you could end up becoming a spike ball rolling down the terrain, a giant wad of goo that will let you climb up walls and even the ceiling, or even a tiny Goomba who you have to avoid being seen by these creatures that will eat anything they see. You could even inflate like a balloon and hover in the air, again taking cues from Mario World. The Wonder Flower adds a lot, and I love the idea of not knowing what to expect when you collect one in each of the stages. That's what kept the game fresh and interesting to me.
Now, in order for the Wonder effects to wear off and for the stage to go back to normal, you'll need to collect the Wonder Seed associated with the flower you collected. And how does that make sense logic-wise in the Mario universe, you might be asking? I don't know, man, it's a Mario game.
For the most part, there will be two scattered throughout each level, aside from many instances where you'll only need to collect one, mostly from these mini challenges that'll show up from time to time. But for the major courses, the way to get the Wonder Seed is by completing a challenge with the Wonder effect, and by reaching the flagpole at the end, which, yeah, that's lame. I don't know, man. The Wonder Seeds are fun to collect when they have challenges or Wonder effects associated with them, but just having the last one be collected by reaching the goal at the end is disappointingly lazy. You could hide it somewhere in the level. It doesn't always have to be associated with any Wonder effects, but it's not and can only be received by reaching the end. So at that point, just make it so that you can only get one Wonder Seed by finding the Wonder Flower in each course instead. Now, realistically, the reason they probably made it like this is mostly because each level also has another collectible, the 3 flower coins. These are essentially the star coins from New Super except in flower form. And just like the Wonder Seeds, they are fun to collect, so hopefully I made the flower coin fanbase proud as a result. Now let's talk about power-ups, a series tradition that every 2D entry has to abide to. And on top of series mainstays like the Mushroom Star, Fire Flower, and 1-ups, we got 3 new power-ups joining the party. First up is the Elephant power-up, turning the character you're playing as into an elephant.
Best thing humanity has said all day.
You become a lot bigger in size, and you also have the ability to swat enemies away with your trunk, carry around water to spray onto plants or suspicious looking areas to discover a secret, just like a real elephant. And it's a cool little power-up. It's not quite as good as power-ups like the Cat and Bee suit, but for being a new power-up that's actually fun to use and isn't just the 70th flying power-up in the series, it does what it sets out to do well. Next up on the new power-up list is the drill suit, sort of similar to the one in Mario Galaxy 2, except better in every conceivable way. Wow, an idea executed better than Super Mario Galaxy 2? Now I have to be inclined to consider this my favorite game of all time. I was initially scared that I wasn't going to like this power-up at first because of how much I hated the version offered in Galaxy, but this one's actually really fun to use. You drill into the ground to avoid tall enemies, you can move a lot faster, you could dig through the ceiling and small little gaps to find a hidden collectible. It's a great power-up, I really like it. Now this next power-up, while I like the concept of and even kind of enjoy using as well, it's just that the use for this thing was a huge missed opportunity, being the Bubble Flower. You blow bubbles into the air to either use as a platform or to trap enemies in, and yeah, that's really it. It can be useful in certain areas, which I did discover, but let's be honest here, it's not as practical to use as you'd like. It doesn't even feel essential to the core gameplay or levels. It's a cool power-up that I really do like, sure, but I think its use throughout the game ended up being kind of underutilized, and that's a damn shame. But on the complete opposite end of that, however, you got the classic power-ups, which are always a joy to use. But despite what I just said, the new power-ups are really solid, so that checks a few boxes right there. And now let's get into the badges. You can only equip one at a time, and much like the Wonder Flower, adds quite a bit to the gameplay. I was initially worried that this was going to feel like a tacked on mechanic just for the sake of variety and nothing more, but it ended up being a really nice addition that surprisingly added a lot to the gameplay. Some badges can allow you to flutter jump in the air, safety bounce to keep yourself from falling in a pit, one of them even offers you a grappling hook to jump from wall to wall like Spider-Man. And of course, you have some that are only fun in the levels you unlock them in, like the non-stop running badge which has you running non-stop. Guess how well that goes. The invisibility badge, that way no one can see you when you're at your absolute worst, or even the power-up badges, letting every power-up you collect be what that badge allows for, and before you ask, yes I am ashamed I use this. All jokes aside, the badges actually are really good additions. Sure, a good few of them aren't great, but for each one that isn't, there's like 12 others that are really good, so it doesn't matter too much. And the small mini challenges associated with unlocking them were always a treat to play through. It did bum me out though when some badges didn't have certain challenges associated with them, and instead had you buying them from the Poplin shops. Same with the Wonder Seeds, and it just felt unrewarding. I mean, yeah, it would be kind of hard to come up with a mini challenge out of the Super Mushroom badge, but man, they couldn't even have just made these badges another collectible to find in the game's stages. That at the very least would have been more rewarding for the player. But the badges overall, I do quite like. A lot of the abilities that they give you are cool, and does make some levels more fun as a result. Although there are a handful in there that definitely could have been axed and everything would have been right in the world, but it's whatever, the badges are still good fun overall. Stop complaining, I never did. Now aside from the badge challenges, you also have a few other mini challenge levels that are a nice breakaway from the traditional platforming. Like this enemy gauntlet that requires you to knock out all the enemies in each room, and if done in a specific amount of time, you get rewarded with flower coins. These music stages, which are nice little references to classic Mario songs, where you have to collect all the pieces to make up a Wonder Seed, and these random coin stages that just pop up sporadically and fills the level with coins for you to collect to max out your life counter, which is definitely more on the worthy. I don't particularly like this new thing that most modern Mario games do nowadays, flooding you with hundreds of coins to collect, because I always feel like that takes any sense of punishment out of losing in a level and leads to a less challenging experience as a result. And that's not even mentioning the fact that you can buy 1-up mushrooms from the shop as well. I'm not saying anything is ruined with the game because of this, but if someone found this game's lack of challenge a deal breaker, this isn't really going to fix that. Now let's talk multiplayer. For local play, it's sort of similar to the new Super games, which is code for it's pretty good, but not better. They removed the ability to interact with other fellow players, meaning you won't be able to jump on their heads, pick them up, throw them. That was an integral part of what made multiplayer in the new Super games so damn fun, because it would always lead to the most ridiculous and hilarious scenarios with your friends. So to see that this newer 2D Mario game doesn't have this, not even as a menu option either, is definitely disappointing. I won't sugarcoat it. And I maintain that multiplayer in the new Super games were essentially the best part of that entire series. And while that's not exactly the case, as Mario Wonder is a bit different, still fine. I had fun when playing this game in multiplayer together, but man, the changes made here were not my favorite at all. However, in addition to local multiplayer, there's also online play, which was my biggest concern going into this game prior to launch. When the Mario Wonder Direct revealed that players online would show up as ghosts, I was pretty disappointed. I mean, yeah, I understood when actual online multiplayer was implemented for the first time in Mario Maker 2 in 2019, it was a laggy mess, and this would help eliminate that issue to some degree, but to me, this news was pretty upsetting, as I've always wanted to do online multiplayer with friends, and the fact we were only going to get a glorified version of what we got in Maker 2 sounded pretty lame, I won't lie. Until I tried it out. Now, sure, it's not exactly what I wanted from online multiplayer, but for what it is, it actually ended up being kind of fun. Jumping into levels and seeing ghosts of the playable characters that unfortunately you can't interact with was a little upsetting, just like what I said with local, but then I realized you can help each other complete the course by sending power-ups to the other player's way, putting up standees in spots where it's more likely to lose, only to help prevent other players from losing. And if it's in a level where you didn't discover all the secrets for, you can have them reveal to you where the hidden flower coin or wonder flowers are. I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did, and if you lose, you appear as a literal ghost with a specific amount of time to reach the other player or their standees, or else you will disappear and lose a life. So while I still prefer the new Super route for multiplayer, the way Wonder did it ended up surprising me with how much fun it truly was. And speaking of fun, I'm sure the dev team didn't skimp out on boss fights this time around, considering they're meant to take advantage of the Wonder Flower. Right?
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a special news report. Super Mario Bros. Wonder's boss fights are lame as hell. Please pretend to be surprised. I wasn't given much of a budget for this.
For a game that supposedly didn't have a deadline to meet during development, it feels like Super Mario Bros. Wonder didn't seem to take advantage of it all the way. In many ways, yes, let's not twist our words here, but others? Eh. And the reason why I say that is because the boss fights here are just so forgettable and interesting, just pitting you against Bowser Jr. with different wonder effects that he has in each one. And that sounds creative and cool, and in one or two scenarios, it is a little, but in others, each one just blends together to form something that feels almost the damn same. Not terrible, just incredibly safe and boring. And the less I say about these mechanical Bowser fights on the airship stages, the better. It's really hard to criticize aspects of this game because literally everything else about it is damn near perfection, but it's such a disappointment to do so when the boss battles offered here were just so basic, even for Mario standards. However, I think where the world bosses flounder, the final boss kinda makes up for it, located at the very top of Castle Bowser, the final world found within the game. Sorta, because every world you complete rewards you with a Royal Seed, weakening Castle Bowser's defense, allowing you to access it and take on the gauntlet of levels the game throws your way. Now the levels leading up to the finale are actually quite good, basically acting as a gauntlet before you face off against Bowser himself. And that goes double for the castle where you fight him in, with how it merges several wonder effects from past levels together to show how much Bowser has gained from stealing it. And when we finally reach Bowser, we're on some sort of rock stage it looks like, where a disembodied Bowser head and hands show up to get us bopping our heads with one of the catchiest beats to grace our eardrums. And what we have is a decently cool fight requiring you to destroy Bowser's various head and hands from his bottom. What's also pretty clever about this boss is how you have to time your jumps to the beat of the music to gain some extra height to attack Bowser. And can I just say how nice it feels seeing a Bowser boss fight that's not just, oh no, Bowser's big, call the fire department. I mean, it's not like the classic disembodied head and hands boss hasn't been done by other bad guys before, but I'll gladly take it over Bowser, now 700 times your size for the bajillionth time. And after inflicting enough damage on Bowser and pressing the final switch on his head, down he goes. Honestly, a pretty okay boss, although I couldn't help but be a little disappointed with it just being one phase where every other Mario finale and other recent entries had more, but whatever, I've complained enough throughout this video. And with the 7 Royal Seeds that you've obtained and Bowser being defeated, the gang celebrates their victory, bringing Super Mario Bros. Wonder to an end. And I would say that's the end of this review too, but it's not.
Because the Home Depot employee paid me to make this review 15 minutes longer.
Because Super Mario Bros. Wonder has a special world, and you don't even have to complete the main campaign to unlock it. You just have to find a secret exit in one level in each of the game's worlds that leads you to a path towards it. However though, you can only play the special world level for the world you found it in unless you unlocked more levels in the game's other worlds. And this is where the much needed challenge that the game would greatly benefit from comes in. The levels are significantly more challenging here, mainly taking advantage of the Wonder Flower effects that were optional throughout most of the game's past levels. And it was pretty fun, and for the player who wanted more of a challenge from the campaign, you'll certainly find what you're looking for here. But of course, that's not the end of the story, because Super Mario Bros. Wonder has 3 final levels to play through to truly complete the adventure. The first of which is the semi-final challenge, which is a much more difficult take and reprise of the already catchy Piranha Plants on Parade song, and makes something equally catchy and significantly more challenging to survive in as well. However though, it will be required that you collect every Wonder Flower in the special world to unlock it.
Thanks.
Next up is the final challenge, and it's a fun, albeit tough one to endure, amalgamating various wonder effects together, which it excels at both on the difficulty and creativity side. And if you needed more of a reason to want to pull your hair out with the challenge from that level, perhaps the final challenge will be up your alley. Yeah, the final challenge really needed the extra final there to emphasize that this level is no cakewalk. And yeah, you know, I'll give it to them. This level is truly worthy of having the extra word there, and part of the challenge for me was just straight up unlocking the damn thing. This is done by collecting every Wonder Flower, every Flower Coin, every stamp, and every standee there is. And let me tell you that when I realized that I needed all 144 standees to unlock the final challenge, and I only had 4, oh man, was I just so thrilled. And unlike the final challenge, which was made up of different wonder effects the further you progress, this is essentially a gauntlet testing your skills with the different badges you've obtained. I mean, when I really look at it, it's not as challenging as Champion's Road from Super Mario 3D World, or even the Darker Side Kingdom in Super Mario Odyssey, but it's easily the toughest challenge I've felt from a game in quite some time. And once you complete it, you can go into this house to get a thank you from the game's developers and unlock the Sound Off badge, which Yeah, that's the end of that.
Oh, hey, look at that. Looks like we're done.
So visually, I think we all know how this game stands. Let me tell you that after a decade and a half of getting 2D Mario games that were not doing much on the visual scale, so by the numbers, and devoid of almost any personality at all, this game is stunning. The watercolor-esque art style was certainly done before with other games, but leave it to Nintendo to make something that's been done by other developers before, but implement enough of their own flair to make it their own, and the end result is absolutely amazing. And side note here, because on top of an art style that's filled to the brim with personality, characters are more expressive and full of energy than they've ever been before. Like the characters in their elephant form struggling to get themselves into pipes, Goombas getting startled upon waking up from a nap, characters having a hard time balancing on a ledge, or when grabbing a power-up, your playable character poses while transforming. And that's not even mentioning the various talking flowers here that just add even more personality to the game. Although I can kinda see why some people may find them a bit annoying, but that's why there's an option to turn them off in the options menu.
Oh, was it something I said?
But I think while on top of them saying strikingly concerning lines like,
I wonder what Goombas taste like.
they do add a lot to the game's identity, commentating on everything going on, and I would certainly not be upset if they returned in some form in future titles. Which they just so happen to do. And while I can go on and on with the other cool little attention to details throughout the game, we'd already have a sequel by this point, so I'll save you all the extra time and talk about the music. Now, Super Mario Bros. Wonder has a pretty good song selection overall. There are many tracks here that are just catchy and memorable throughout, and is certainly in line with what you'd expect from the catchy music from previous games. But on top of having some truly great songs, there's some that were just kinda there. Not all, I mean tracks like the Special World theme, Final Boss theme, the music that plays during certain Wonder effects like Piranha Plants on Parade or its reprise, that one song where King Boo becomes an opera singer, that was well done. The one with the spikes, the pumpkin one, even the snow, main, and athletic theme were really good. But other than those, yeah, some are just boring. Nothing bad, but tracks like the desert theme, underground theme, the castle, even the boss theme fell victim to this. I feel one of the best parts of newer Mario games is listening to what musical magic the team behind the game has, and to see that this game is lacking in that department a little bit is pretty upsetting to me. On that note, however,
Super Mario Bros. Wonder. This game is absolutely fantastic. It might not have surpassed Super Mario World as my favorite Mario game, or hell, even my favorite game of all time, but for what it does right, it does so damn right to the point where this is easily one of the best Mario games in recent memory, and hell, I would even go on a limb and say that this is one of the best games on the Nintendo Switch, period. And just the fact that we have a new 2D Mario game that's so much more unique and has more personality and flair than all the new Super games combined is still pretty unreal. But even when it's not that, you have fantastic level design that takes cues from the best of the new Super series, while also taking from the best of Super Mario World. The fun little badge challenges and various other challenges were a nice breakaway from the traditional platforming. The new badge system being implemented, while worrying at first, ended up being a solid addition that adds some form of strategy to which badge would work best for what level. The collectibles like the flower coins and wonder seeds being enjoyable to collect. The power-ups on offer, including the new ones, being actually fun to use and not just being more flying power-ups. The Wonder Flower changing up the levels you find them in, and the gameplay in mind-blowing and fun ways, as you never know what's going to happen when you collect one. You could be in the middle of a dance party or even float through space. It was implemented in a very fun way. Online multiplayer, while I still would have preferred an actual online multiplayer session, what we have here does its job well and proved itself to be a fun implementation, all things considered. Controls are as tight as ever. I think it would be a crime to mess up controls in a Mario game when you think about it. Visuals and some of the music being absolutely fantastic, and with how much there is to do here, Super Mario Bros. Wonder is a game that you want to have never end, as it's just that good. Although, while the game has flaws, not once does it ever get to a point where the game's quality tanks as a result. Like all the boss battles this game has being lame as hell except for the final boss that was kinda okay, the other half of the soundtrack being shockingly bland where the other half was good, the game being a bit too easy at times and really only being difficult once you reach the post-game, and that difficulty issue is made much more apparent when it's far too easy to accumulate coins to buy one-ups from the item shop. But that's basically all the issues I have with this game, which just shows how passionate and talented the team was behind this game to craft something eventful and exciting for all of us Mario fans across the world. Now, from a personal standpoint, it's not my favorite of the 2D entries, but it's easily one of the best entries that we've gotten in a very long time, and my personal favorite too. And for everything the game struggles to succeed at, it makes up for it and then some in so many ways. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is one of the best entries in the series. It's fun, it's energetic, it's not perfect, which is also every single game ever made, but it's pretty damn close all the same. And actually, Super Mario Bros. Wonder is returning with a Nintendo Switch 2 edition on March 26, 2026, adding more multiplayer content and a new part of the Flower Kingdom not seen in the base game called Bella Bell Park. It looks to take cues from what looks like Mario Party minigames with games like Tag or Races and all that. It's even adding new content to the base game with the Koopalings, Captain Toad, Rosalina as a new playable character, a new plant power-up, and even a new assist mode, which kinda remedies the initial nitpick before about how all the characters should get this feature beyond Yoshi and Nabbit. And also kinda makes those characters pretty worthless also. And based on what I have seen, it seems really cool and fun to play. If I ever decide to get it. So yeah, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Awesome, phenomenal time, easily one of the best games the Nintendo Switch has to offer. But I can't be the only one who finds that the boss fight selection here is more disappointing than it really is. Like everything else about the game, top notch, amazing, but the boss fight selection here is just so forgettable and boring. It almost makes me feel like I need to express it somehow, like on a broadcast or something. This just in. This game sucks.
And that's going to wrap up today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then please consider subscribing and checking out my other videos on the channel where you'll find more videos like this one. And again, thank you all so much for watching and see you next time.